Hello, everyone. I'm happy to meet with you again today and talk with you about a very important topic in cognitive therapy, that is cognitive restructuring and the use of thought records. Thought records are really the core of learning how to be able to change our own thinking, which in turn will affect our feelings and our behaviors. These are very important principles that I'm going to go over today. So I'm going to be talking about thought records, the very first part of thought records. Thought records can be put in two parts, so I'm going to talk about the first part today. I first want to say that there has been a tremendous amount of research that have gone on since 1979, 1980, when they began to do research on cognitive therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and we know now from thousands of studies that CBT is the most effective treatment that we have today for the treatment of anxiety and depression. All the different depressive disorders and all the different anxiety disorders respond well to cognitive behavioral therapy. This is not to say that we also shouldn't use other methods, even in some cases medication, very helpful as well, so that CBT and medication can work together for those people who are struggling. When we're doing cognitive behavioral therapy, usually by around session 4, the cognitive therapist is introducing the principles of how to do thought records. This may vary from case to case, but in some cases we've done daily activity logs and mastery and pleasure logs. In other situations, those may not be important things to use depending upon the symptoms that a person presents with. But today I really just want to talk about thought records and how they're divided into two parts. The first part is the identification of the situation, feeling, thought, and behavior, and part 2 has to do with actually learning how to modify the thoughts. I'm not able to change anybody else's thinking. Only a person can change their own thinking, and they need to understand that thoughts are things that can be changed. We're not stuck with them. One of the very important ways of being able to understand cognitive therapy is using a book called Mind Over Mood by Greenberger and Podesky. I've introduced this book in some of our other talks. This book is excellent, and so my work with patients, whenever possible, I'll use this book together with the therapy to help them figure out how to learn the skills necessary to change their own thinking. I want to review a few things. First, talking about depression, Aaron Beck developed what's called the cognitive triad of depression, where a person has excessively negative thoughts about self, the world, and the future. In addition, the Podesky model discussed how our current environment is affected by our physical sensations, how we have feelings or moods, we have behaviors, but we also have these thoughts, and all of these things interact with each other. Not one is more important than the other. And then when we combine the Beck model with the Podesky model, we can see that thoughts from the past, experiences from the past, models of parental behavior in the past, how all of those things will affect our current situation. This was discussed in a previous talk. The depression protocol, for example, we start off with getting to know each other in an assessment. We do a collaborative case conceptualization, the 5 parts of understanding our problem. And then we may do daily activity logs and mastery and pleasure logs. But eventually we get to our thought records, part 1 and part 2. And we practice those thought records over and over again until we get very good at them. This is an example of a thought record that I use, the Podesky thought record looks a little bit different from this. It's more horizontal, mine's more vertical, but basically they're very similar. Now obviously you can't really make this out on this slide, so I'm going to break it down into different parts. Thought record part 1 begins with a situation that we write down. Very simple, basic understanding of a situation. We write down our feelings and we rate how strong those feelings are, and then we write down automatic thoughts. Now oftentimes the automatic thoughts are related to the feelings. They don't have to be, but there's usually a connection between our automatic thoughts and our feelings. And then something that I do a little bit different than Christine Podesky is that I add here another box which is called the initial behavioral response, where a person gets to rate the effectiveness of their response. I found that this can be helpful, where a person writes down their response and then they see, well, maybe that response wasn't very effective. And this gives them more motivation to continue on and do thought record part 2. So let's go into a little bit more detail. A situation is a specific event that you wish to investigate. A situation can be external, some actual event that happened in the past, something maybe even happening in the present, or something anticipated in the future. And a situation can be about something internal as well, something that we imagine, something related to more of our thoughts and feelings and not specifically to a situation that's going on. We all have the number 86,400. No one has any more or any less. It's the number of seconds in each day. And according to research, a moment is about 5 to 8 seconds long, the length of a nice, long, slow breath. So this means that we all have about 10,000 moments in a day, but we have to sleep for part of it, so maybe we have 6,500 waking moments in a day. So if you think about, for example, yesterday, how many moments can you really recall? How many events can you really recall from yesterday? So most people, with some effort, may be able to recall 20 to 50 separate moments or events that have occurred. But let's say that you're really good at this and you're able to come up with 65 events from yesterday. That means that you're getting about 1% of the moments that you experienced. Even let's go to say that each event takes about 10 minutes in duration. That means you're only still getting about 10% in your memory circuitry. That's quite all right. But as the days and weeks go by, less and less is considered important or salient, so we may have just a few memories from last week or last month.